does that have to do with growth, that specific object that you chose? And if you don't want to speak out loud, you can always put it in the chat. I pay attention to both.
Hello,
So
everyone. If I could share, I am LaQuisha Wilkins, and I have a rose. My camera's just not working properly at the moment. And that rose represents growth to me, that if I nurture it correctly, it'll last longer once it has been plucked from the bush.
beautiful, beautiful. So is it LaQuisha, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to see the name. It's kind of blocked on me. So if
This-
we can all do like in sign language, if you clap like this. So if you go back to speaker view, you can see it. You'll clap for her for participating. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Could I have another one?
This is Janice Marshall, and I have a plant. And when I think of it in nature, I think that if you nurture it, it will grow, but it will also need to change its pot frequently in order for it to continue to grow. So it reminds me of the time we're in, where we're changing things because we don't really know what is happening. So we have to find the right placement for our plants.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you. Can we all give her a fist bump? And here's how you do it. You make your fist and you do it to the camera. That's how you're going to give Janice a fist bump. So everybody give her a fist bump. By the way, I hope you're taking some of these tips, because virtual, shaking it up and doing it a little bit different, it can be a challenge at times. So these are things you could do with your staff when you're in meetings with other people, and just so be stealing some of these ideas as well. All right, how about one more to share? One more to share.
Well, I will. I picked up this beautiful plate. I'm Erica from New York City, live up 20 minutes north of New York City. And we are the epicenter of the epicenter, New York City. So, yeah. But this plate has great memories to me, because I went to the Amalfi Coast last year, and learning about the way people live in a different culture, in a different way, it changes your perception of people, and people who live in such a small little town and who depend upon each other. It reminds me so much of our community in Washington Heights, and how people just really depend upon each other to help, especially right now with this pandemic going on.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to give you a high five. Everyone else give her a high five. Again, you do it to the camera. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I'm going to go back to what Janice said, because one of the things I thought about when it comes to leadership in uncertain times is that change that has to happen. And it's not a word that any of us really go, oh yeah, I can't wait to change. Like, bring it on, let's go. Most people don't have that attitude towards it. Yet we deal with change every day, just a little bit on different levels. So when this all came along, we were all thrown into, because I'm going to bring in the brain research, we're all thrown into survival mode. And so at some different levels, but at some level, every single one of us is still in a survival mode, because we don't know what all is going to happen, right? It's that unknown, it's that uncertainty. And within the brain and the body, that creates all kinds of stress, releasing of cortisol, damages the brain, hurts our health, our immune system. So I'm going to separate two sections of the brain for you. So I want you to come back here. So back at the base, right? This is fight, flight, freeze. Thank you for playing along, because when you do it, you also remember it, a lot higher recall. All right, so here, and at the bottom here is going to be your fight, flight, freeze. And if you move your hands up into here, so I'm not right on top, I'm actually towards the back. You guys look amazing. Mark, I would get a screenshot if I were you. But if you do this, when you have, some of you are like, no, no. Up in here, like deep in here, you have the limbic system, right? Processes the emotions. It also takes short-term memory into long-term memory. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lump this part with this part, and I'm going to call this survival mode. All right, then you have up here, so if you put your hands up here, this is your frontal lobes. This is also, you probably heard about executive functions, but this is where you make judgments. You make decisions, you plan, critical thinking, emotional control. All of this happens here. So I'm going to put this in as a thriving mode. Okay, so it's also something I reference as a thinking mode. When it comes to the brain, you cannot be in a survival mode and a thriving, or in other words, thinking mode at the exact same time. It is not possible. So when all of a sudden we got swept with this news and we have our entire lives shifting, and you as a leader are asked to step up in a time like this when you are fighting the thinking mode, the thriving mode yourself, and shifting backwards, you played a game of this. Yet here you are. Every single one of you is showing up today, and you've made it this far. So I want you to like high five yourself, applaud yourself at this point, because way to go, great job on that. You are here. And then that leads me into when I think about Shine, and you all probably know about Shine. So I want to look at it from the lens of leadership a little bit here, igniting your leadership shine. And so S, when we talk about self, it's all about strengths, gifts, skills, and talents. And we're going to come back to that for the breakout. So hold on to S for self, all about strengths, gifts, skills, and talents. So you've used a lot of what you have to this point to help you to be so successful in where you are. Or you've turned to others on your team or family members or community and said, hey, how do we do this? What does this look like? Then you get to H. H is heart. It's about the passion, right? The passion that you have. It's, again, a driving force as to why you are where you are today. I mean, I know most of you got into education for the money. I mean, we can go ahead and put that to the table, right? All right, not really. All right, but you came here for the passion, right? It is about having a passion for what you do, seeing others succeed, and that passion with the strength is what brings purpose. So sometimes when we're in a time like this and we're trying to lead, when we have our own uncertainty, you're having to draw more than ever upon your own strengths and others, but also that passion. And right now you are needed more than ever. So I'm going to pause on that for a moment. I had someone say to me a couple days ago, and it hit me really hard, but they said, even motivators need motivated. Even motivators need motivated. Even leaders need that. So I hope that you're taking a moment to do that for you, because when they said that to me, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because if I'm completely transparent, it is getting further and far between, but I have found myself sitting and sobbing at times like this, because none of us asked for this. But to me, strength is when you pull yourself up and you continue, which again, you're here, right? That shows leadership right there. If you sat and you cried and you cried and you cried and you didn't ever get up, that would be one different situation. But the fact that you pull together your strength, and whether it's 1 minute, whether it's one day, whether it's a couple days, when you pull yourself back up, that strength ensues. That's when you live in that strength, that heart, the passion, and you have that purpose. And then I is inspire. And I know many of you are inspiring so many right now. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you're doing. Again, make sure that you are also finding your inspiration, your time of quiet, your time of silence, your time of music, your time of looking at quotes, whatever it works for you. And then N is navigate. And that's the piece I'm going to focus on most today, and especially in your breakouts. I'm going to send you in that direction, because navigate is what do you do with all the greatness I just described. So as a leader, you're already creating, okay, if that happened, we do this. Okay, this changed, like Mark was asking earlier, number of students in a classroom. If that comes to that point, what does that look like? How as a SAM do I support my other leader, which is the one that you communicate with the most, and you go through time management and the checking and all that. So how are you still finding those times, those pockets of time to inspire each other, but then to keep that navigation piece going? And that's the beauty of you all having your SAMs or being a SAM administrator, because you have an opportunity to have still that team to come together and bond even more than you've ever bonded. I have been part of groups lately on Zoom that we come out in the end stronger than I honestly believe in some ways in person. So I'm going to hope that you experience this today. If you can't stay around for the breakout room, I totally get it and understand that, but I hope that you can. And then E is going to be exceptional, because you're becoming an exceptional person. You're remaining and continuing to be the exceptional leader that you were meant to be. So that's what all about Shine is. And no matter whether we're in certain times, which question the language of that even, is it ever truly certain, versus uncertain times. But you've been here before. Not in a pandemic, but you've been here before. So let me shift into an activity with you. I need everybody to grab a pen, and you're going to need paper. So if you'll get pen and a paper. And while you do that, I'm going to look at the chat real quick here, take a peek, see how we're doing. Erica, you look forward to this every time, such motivating strength. Yes, and to know that you're not alone, I think that's one of the biggest things, is coming together and having the opportunity for you all to get together, the SAMS community. I see that, Shauna. Absolutely. Right, look forward to Thursdays. I already saw that one. I need A succulent planting. I use a succulent plant. Oh, Lachelle, I have to laugh at that because that's all I buy these days because they die. All right, so let me see your pen. Put your pen in front. So I just want to see, make sure everybody's got their pen. You got their pen? Fantastic. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to write down. We're going to go 3 different sections on this, all right? So I'm going to pause in between to give you time to reflect on this. So the first question I have for you is I want you to think back to when did you have a peak leadership experience? Like there was a moment where you're like, oh yeah, I rocked on that. Or, wow, we really came together and we solved that problem. What insight do you have there? So I just want you to think back. What was a moment of positive leadership or something where you stepped up in a moment? It could be a moment of change. It could be a moment when somebody needed you. When was that moment? Would you jot that down? A moment in the past where you had a peak leadership experience, whether you had to make a decision, you helped somebody else solve. It could be with one person, it could be many. I'll give you about 20 more seconds. All right, if you'll give me a physical thumbs up if you're pretty close to at least having an idea there and such. Okay, so I see quite a few. Okay, good. And it doesn't have to be like all written out. I just want you at least thinking about that. Okay, here comes the second question. So, and we're going to do 3, so here comes the second one. When you look back at the experience that you just wrote down, what are some of the strengths or superpowers that came from that experience? So again, if you'll take your pen, write it down on paper, what were some of the strengths when you look back as a result of going through that, stepping up into that leadership role, helping someone, helping yourself, helping a community? What were the strengths or superpowers that came from that? You could also look at it as what were the lessons or the takeaways that you have as a result. So again, strengths, superpowers as a result. If you'll give me another thumbs up so I know how we're doing, where are we? Having at least a few written down? Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, and then here comes your third question, the last one that I want you to think back on, or think about. Looking back on the experiences, the strengths and superpowers that you had, what if we fast forward 6 months from now, what would you be celebrating? Looking back at the uncertain times of what you're dealing with now. Okay, what would you be celebrating? And I want you to come from the point of a leader. So I know that probably all of us would be saying, celebrating being back in schools, no social distancing, no physical distancing, we're making it happen. Okay, yes, we would definitely wish that. But as a leader, 6 months from now, what would you like to be celebrating about you or your SAMS team or others?
LaVonna, can you repeat all the questions again, just to make sure I have them?
Sure can, Ebony, yes. So the first one was, what was a peak leadership experience that you've had, whether it was with yourself or with others? You know, what was that moment where you stepped up and you shined? You could put it that way. The second one was, as a result of what you did, what were some of the strengths or superpowers that came from it? And then the third one is, 6 months from now, what would you like to be celebrating? What would that, whether it's virtual, whether it's physical, no matter what that looks like as a leader, what would you like to be celebrating?
Thank you.
You are so welcome. So in a moment, I'm going to ask whether it's Mark or whether it's Jim, whoever's controlling the breakout rooms, because I don't see it on my end. So what I'd love to do is just have you all send a breakout like you normally would, Mark or Jim, whoever's handling that. And here's what I'd like you all to do is I want you to think back to everything that you just experienced and that you put down, whether it was the experience itself, whether it was the superpowers or strengths that came from it, or even where you want to be celebrating. In your breakout rooms, I want you to share that because one, it's gonna, should uplift you, right? But the second part of that is you get to hear that you're not alone. And I know you know that, but hearing it like verbally, seeing people is a huge step. And then third part of sharing this is you may actually have other ideas that come to fruition from this. Things that you didn't realize or, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Or, oh, you did that? Well, we could do that. And I just think a lot could bubble from this. So I want to thank you. I know they're going to send you to breakouts, but I want to thank you so much again for having me, Mark, Carol, Jim, all the Sams, and everyone who showed up, the entire community. Thank you for having me. But you are a shining star, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo-hoo!
I've taken everybody off
Thank
mute.
you.
Can we tell LaVonna thank you? Woo!
Thank
Thank you,
you.
LaVonna.
Oh,
You.
great.
It was
Thank you.
amazing.
Well, thank you all very much.
All righty. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and go to breakout rooms in just a moment. I want to thank LaVonna Roth once again. I really appreciate the fact that she spent time with us today. It was just terrific to be able to have her with us. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to go to breakout rooms. So those of you who would rather not participate in the breakout room piece, you can go ahead and exit anytime you'd like. LaVonna's book isn't out yet, but we do have a couple of books we're going to offer you for those of you who participated today. The first is Visual Intelligence, and the second is Brain Rules if you didn't attend this last national conference. Or if you did and you'd like a second copy, we'll go ahead and send it to you. After the session today, this afternoon, you'll get an email from Jim Mercer letting you know how to make that request. LaVonna, again, I want to thank you. We're going to go ahead and go to breakout rooms now. And on your screen, you'll see how the breakout room, who is in your breakout room, and it's assigned randomly. So we're going to be doing that in just a moment. The breakout rooms will be open for about 20 minutes. So I will give a warning online when we're down to about 20 minutes left. You're going to breakout rooms now. Thanks again for joining us.
Mark, can you send me to my chat room again, please?
Let me see if I can do that.
I was texting and I couldn't hit accept.
I am trying here. Gosh, Jasmine, it's not giving me that choice.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Let's not give up yet. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. No, you don't need to be sorry. How are you, by the way?
I'm doing well, thank you. I was just sending an email to a colleague from District 10.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, yes.
You know, I have to tell you that one of the things that I really miss is getting to be in New York City. I absolutely love going to the city. I've never had a bad experience there.
I'm so
Jasmine,
glad.
I wish I could figure out how to do this to get you into this room.
You know what? This is a lesson learned. I can always send an email later on. I shouldn't have not accepted the invite to the breakout room. But honestly,
You know,
lesson learned.
you think there'd be a way to move you there.
I think it was chat room 8, but I wouldn't know how to.
Let me go down there and see 8 is empty.
Oh wait, join breakout room.
Oh, wait a minute,
maybe it
I
was
found
9.
you. I know how to do it. I know how to do it.
Was I in 9?
No, you were in 8, and I'm going to move you to another breakout room, moving you to 9. Go ahead.
Beautiful.
Good seeing you. Did it take you there? There you go.